I'm Joseph.
And I'm Nick.
Ooh, and this is Fish Jelly. How are you?
Good, how are you? It's a reference to Janet Jackson's Black Cat.
Oh, that's what that was? Okay.
Homage.
So it's our 95th episode.
Mm-hmm.
Some people might notice we have like a new thumbnail for the podcast. Trying to elevate the game.
Yeah.
Now that we're borderline.
While staying true to the game.
Shout out to Quadir. Now that we're
and Gaget.
Now that we're borderline famous. I need to mention that in a couple of videos we posted last week, there was a dog in the room.
Yes.
Farting. So people noticed because we talked about it. And then I posted a picture of you with the dog on the floor. So a couple of things. That is not our dog. We were dog sitting. The dog in question is Deef.
Mm-hmm.
So Nick was on the floor because we didn't want the dog on our furniture, but also the dog seemed to want it to be close because it would get startled suddenly if it didn't see us. So you had laid on the floor and then fell asleep. So that's why you were on the floor with the dog. But that is not our dog. We only have one pet.
I was not being punished.
Yeah. A hairless cat named Aggie. I don't even want her, so I damn sure don't want a dog. But I do have to say, who doesn't love dogs, right? Like, dogs are awesome, and for all the reasons we all know. And every now and then I'll think, oh, wouldn't it be cute to have a dog? And no. Our home's not compatible for a dog because we have 4 floors and all these stairs.
Sure.
And that little Frenchie was like...
Oh, she would zoom up.
She would zoom, but it was like, oh my gosh, she's gonna fall down and slip down and break her neck. Also, just like we had a dog for a little while,
Janet,
and then we gave her back to where the hell we got her from because she was a problem.
She had behavioral issues, and we tried, but
I paid to have her trained and obedience training, and it just
I think I think she tried to bite several notable people in the house.
She tried to bite notable people, so I had to let her go. And homeowners insurance wouldn't cover a pit bull.
Yep, that was where we were really dumb. But
yeah, so, but every now and then we'll think, oh, wouldn't it be fun to have a dog? But having a dog in the house for 14 hours was stressful, and I didn't like it. And I do not want a dog. I don't want to watch anyone's dog again.
Well, it didn't help that she's technically not properly house trained, so we couldn't leave her alone.
She pissed on my dining room rug, so now I have to order a new rug.
Oh boy!
But I would be happy to, like, I don't want to say I want to house sit, but I would definitely, like, in a pinch, go to someone's house and walk their dog and feed them and check on them. But I don't want a dog in my house at this juncture. I was reading that Pam Grier said that she was offered the role of the Bond girl in the 1983 film Octopussy.
Who played the Bond girl in that? Was it not Honor Blackman?
Oh, I don't know. Oh. You can look it up. But yeah, Pam Grier was saying that her agent sent her to go meet the Broccoli family, who I guess are the producers.
Barbara Broccoli, yes.
And
Maud Adams. Yes.
And Pam Grier, is that a black lady?
No, she's white.
And Pam Grier told them, like, I don't even know why I'm here. I'm not available. And so they all had a stank feeling about it. But she said that, I'm reading the quote. She said, I just felt to be a Bond girl would be, what am I going to do? Am I going to help rescue him? Is he rescuing me? A Bond girl is an afterthought, a Cliff's Note, perhaps. So, I don't know. I think it kind of would have been cool to have that as part of her
legacy,
her resume. But I don't think Pam Grier suffered for not being a Bond girl. I mean, she's iconic.
No, it's a weird thing. I think when that's one of your first things to be a Bond girl, I think that's something to overcome, as opposed to being a very well established person that's starring in a Bond film. Because you got Monica Bellucci, Grace Jones, Halle Berry, technically as a Bond girl, and it's inconsequential at that point. in their
She does go
careers.
on to say that she gave them other ideas on how that character could be written that maybe would interest her, but of course they were not interested in taking her
Oh, of course not. Yeah.
suggestions. But good for her for not doing something she didn't feel good about.
Yeah.
So there's that. Then I was reading that there's the comedian. He has like a popular YouTube show, Andrew Scholes. He's in the film. He plays one of Jonah's character's friends, not the one you were talking about, another guy.
Oh, I was talking about Jordan Firstman.
Yeah, no, it's the other guy. But anyway, he was talking about the movie and he let it slip kind of that the final kiss in You People, the movie with Jonah Hill, Lauren London, Julia Louis Dreyfus, David Duchovny, Eddie Murphy, Nia Long, that final kiss between Jonah Hill and Lauren London, that was CGI.
What?
That they didn't really kiss, that final scene that the two of them get close and then it stops. But in the film, you can see that they actually do lock lips. So that was CGI,
Okay.
which plays into the whole these two don't have any chemistry. And then Lauren London did an interview with Harper's Bazaar. And even she said, I thought, why would these two people really like each other? We have to showcase a real connection. They're from two totally different worlds. And if you see them, you would never think that they would meet or hang out, whatever the case is. So she had said that she sort of had those same feelings about the two characters. But then she goes on to say that once they got to know each other, she really did like him. But I think that's the problem with that pairing in the movie is that I'm not saying no one can love Jonah Hill or that a beautiful woman wouldn't like him. I just don't believe that the way it happened would happen so fast because he looks like a monster in the movie. And the way she acts is like,
The other thing is when you are head over heels in love with somebody, when you're first in love, and whether or not somebody's from a different walk of life, like you want to know everything. You want to be invested in everything. You want to be invested.
these two people felt like strangers who
Mhm.
were just being polite to one another. But anyway, um, moving on. I didn't know this, but the Late Late Show with James Corden that's being canceled.
And replaced with a game show or something.
No, it's that show, the series Midnight, which had previously aired. And I remember that because it was with Chris Hardwick, who I do
Mhm.
like. But I don't care for James Corden.
I don't really
So I
either.
mean, and maybe part of the decision was kind of the backlash he's gotten about being an asshole. But
That's right.
the, I don't really care about him, but it made me think. I really liked the two previous hosts. So do you remember Craig Ferguson?
Yeah. Mhm.
I really like him, and he has some comedy specials on Netflix, I believe, or Amazon Prime, one of the two. I think he's really cute and funny.
Mhm.
And he talks very candidly about his like sobriety and then Craig Kilborn. Do you remember
I
him?
do.
I really liked him too, and I thought he was so handsome back in the day. But yeah, like James Corden, he doesn't give me anything.
Well, except for what's that? I won't say it. It's fine.
Oh,
What's that
um,
little cartoon? That Looney Tunes cartoon
oh,
that he reminds me of?
Elmer Fudd.
The pig.
Oh, oh, wow, damn. Um, I'll move on to films released we didn't cover. The Blue Caftan.
I know I talked about this before because I think it was Morocco's official submission for best international feature. I think it might have been shortlisted as well. Mariam Touzani premiered at Cannes in certain regard. Sela Bakri is this gay man married to this woman played by Lubna Azabal, who's also very notable. I like her a lot. Very interesting film. I did like it. We didn't. You haven't seen it, and we didn't have time to watch it this week.
Somebody I used to know.
Dave Franco's latest film, starring his wife Alison Brie and Jay Ellis from Insecure,
Mm.
came out on Amazon Prime, and we didn't make time for it. Although Zoe Chow, who's also in the new Reese Witherspoon, is in it. That opened the same day.
Lastly, Titanic was re-released in theaters for the 25th anniversary. Is that what it is?
97 is when that came out.
Yeah,
So
so 20.
isn't that 26? No.
Well, whatever.
Okay.
I feel like every time we mention Titanic, I have to mention that we did see a screening for the 20th anniversary, I believe,
Was that in 2019?
at the Queen Mary.
2018?
we saw it at the Queen Mary in Long
Yeah,
Beach.
yeah.
Like they had a screening set up in front of the ship, and even that wasn't enough to get me interested.
I
I know
mean,
people love this film. What do you think about the Titanic?
the film
Yeah.
or the
Yeah,
boat?
not the sinking ship, the movie.
It's fine. It definitely was a juggernaut of a film. I didn't have the reverence for it that most of my peers did when I was 13. Uh, I like Kate Winslet. I think Leonardo DiCaprio, they're just fine. I like a lot of the supporting cast members: Kathy Bates, Francis Fisher, Vincent Garber, Victor Garber. Sorry, uh, Jeanette Goldstein. But yeah, I don't know. It's
I would be more interested in watching a documentary on the making of that film than I am the actual film, because technically it's a feat. But yeah, the basic story.
Oh, and Gloria Stewart.
Like watching it, I always think about all those people who died who had to work on the ship, who were probably
Mhm,
really poorly treated. And then you
mhm.
know how I feel about films during that era. It's like, and then whatever black people were allowed on the boat were probably mistreated. So I'm like, all y'all deserve to sink on this boat. But whatever. Moving on to projects of interest, something called Super Toys.
Oh, yes, let me get my list. David O. Russell, who, I mean, I didn't love Amsterdam, but again, it's not the worst thing I've seen, this past year. He's already got a new film lined up, but it's gonna star Keke Palmer and Sacha Baron Cohen as, I believe, toy developers.
Oh, Daniela Forever.
Nacho Vigalondo, who you've seen his film Time Crimes, is working on a new project with
Oh,
Henry Golding.
I recall liking Time
I do
Crimes.
too. He's done a couple things since then. I think a movie. I'm forgetting the Elijah Wood movie he did about. Was it about the piano player? And then he did a film called Extraterrestrial that I thought was kind of so-so.
Sontag.
Kristen Stewart is going to play culture critic, essayist, filmmaker, writer, the multifaceted Susan Sontag, which is kind of exciting. And
You know, the only reason I know who that is because well, like whenever I listen to like queer intellectuals, like they just love to bring up Susan Sontag,
well, she said, she's fascinating.
but she's one of those references I feel like people have to throw out there. Like,
Sure. I have had a copy of is it Notes on Film Forever that I haven't read yet, but will. And well, wasn't she married to Annie Leibovitz?
oh, I
I
don't know.
that's so for some reason that's in my head. She wrote a film called In America that I also have owned forever and haven't read. That Jerzy Skolimowski was going to make in the early 2000s with Isabelle Huppert into a film version. It's so sad that didn't get made. And as you know, when I
Mm.
read is Vamps and Tramps by Camille Paglia, sometime in the past year, Susan Sontag went from being her idol to her arch nemesis in the world of academe. Anyhow, Kristen Stewart, who's about to be the Berlin jury president, and apparently they're using footage from her as the president as part of this film project.
Oh,
Um, the project's being directed by Kirsten Johnston, who I'm familiar with her documentaries like Camera Person and
oh, not the lady from Third Rock from the
no, that's
Sun.
Kristen Johnston. This is
Oh,
Kirsten Johnston
I don't know.
or John. Is it Johnston or Johnston?
I don't
Now,
know.
now I feel messed up. But she directed, I think it's Johnston because the film Dick Johnson is Dead is about her dad.
Oh,
But yeah,
next.
Susan Sontag also had that great quote about how white people are cancer.
Oh well, Switzerland. Speaking of Switzerland,
Another famous person, Helen Mirren, is going to play Patricia Highsmith, the lesbian writer of things like all of the Talented Mr. Ripley novels, which I was obsessed with as a teenager. Anton Corbijn, who he's probably still best known, besides being a photographer, is for his film Control about Joy Division and The American with George Clooney. And he also did that movie where Dane DeHaan played uh, Jimmy Dean opposite Robert Pattinson's journalist in the movie Life, which I think should have been a lot better. Anyway, Helen Mirren's going to play Patricia Highsmith, which is interesting. And it reminds me that I need to see that documentary that was recently made about Patricia.
Kay Scarpetta.
You probably, my mom used to read Patricia Cornwall's novels, but she had this series of books featuring a detective, I believe. I didn't read any of these, but I know of Kay Scarpetta. Back around the time of Tomb Raider, I think they were trying to develop this into a film project with Angelina Jolie that never happened. Well, now it's going to be a series from showrunner Lisa Sarnoff of Barry with Bill Hader. And Jamie Lee Curtis has been attached for years, who will be playing Nicole Kidman's sister as the legendary Kay Scarpetta.
I'm interested in this Frankenstein.
Del Toro apparently is going to move forward with a Frankenstein project with Andrew Garfield as the monster and Oscar Isaac as Dr. Frankenstein.
Mm. Prince Andrew, another monster.
Another monster. Well, when we watched that interview, that from 2019, that
Oh, on
interview,
the BBC.
hmm
Yeah.
which is so painful. Uh, what a creep. Anyway, I think they had been bandying about names of who, because there immediately were plans to make this into a movie, and I think was it Hugh Grant they wanted to play Prince Andrew, but it's going to be Rufus Sewell, and Gillian Anderson will be playing the journalist.
Lastly, I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Guess what? More reboots. Here we go. Another not very good film that's going to be trotted out, even though there was a recent TV series that nobody watched or seemed to like that did watch it. But anyway, Freddie Prinze Jr. and Jennifer Love Hewitt apparently coming back for some kind of reboot, one of those pass the torch kinds of bullshit things that does anybody really care about? But here
I
we
think
are.
so, because people like Scream.
Do they?
I think people do. There are YouTube channels devoted to. I don't know. I didn't watch it, but
Not for me.
although we are watching the next one soon.
Scream 6. I mean, well, yeah, because I see everything, but the last one was no good.
I have zero interest in watching it, but I will.
And then it's like you can't pay Nev Campbell. You can't pay Nev Campbell money. You can't pay Nev Campbell the money she's asking for. Even though these dumb things make all this fucking money, you can't pay Nev
Listen,
Campbell
it
the
could be
money.
Campbell soup in that movie, and I still wouldn't like. It wouldn't make a difference.
I don't even have that, but it's just the thought of it. I mean,
Sure.
whatever. But anyway, Jennifer Caton Robinson will be heading up the reboot of I Know What You Did Last Summer, which of course is based on the original Lois Duncan. Is that her name? Yeah, the YA novel.
Sure.
Yeah.
Moving on to movies we watched for fun, something called Bad Timing.
I have an article dropping next week at Spin of 20
No big deal.
anti-love films just in time for Valentine's Day. And I wanted to catch up. I haven't seen this in 20 years, but Nicholas Roeg's Bad Timing, A Sensual Obsession, which is where he met his wife of many years, Teresa Russell, who I usually don't care for, but I quite liked in this as the object of Art Garfunkel's affection, who wants to possess her. She has, in the beginning of the film, is being rushed to the hospital from an overdose in Vienna, Austria, and then it's told in flashback. I think Harvey Keitel plays a very sensual and appealing investigator that is trying to figure out just how Art Garfunkel was responsible for this suicide attempt.
Something called Double Suicide.
Again, in reference to the same article. Isn't that a great title? Masahiro Shinoda, who I think he's probably best known in the States for this film and Pale Flower, which I own but have yet to watch.
Well, you're like a pale flower. Well, you're not really pale, but
I was waiting for that. Okay. Used to call me Moon Demon from that movie with Amy Smart.
That we saw at the Minneapolis St. Paul Film Festival in 2009.
Somewhere around there. No, we rented that movie.
Moon Demon?
You're
You're right.
of
I'm thinking of the Demon Low.
Low, L-O.
Yes.
Yeah. We saw that as a double feature with Zombies of Mass Destruction.
I don't recall that movie, but I remember Low.
Don't you remember Wait a Minute?
Wait a minute.
Anyway, that movie, those are both very ragtag films. But
Wait a minute.
Don't you remember them like talking in code with the countries? There's
No,
that couple
but that's
arguing each other.
funny.
Norway. Anyway, Double Suicide, again, a very familiar plot about this man that falls in love with a courtesan, a prostitute, who is, of course, in debt to her owners, and he can't afford to pay her off. And the danger is somebody else will come along and pay her debt and buy her. So they want to make a pact and kill each other so they can be together forever.
The Chambermaid.
Lila Aviles has a film I'm about to see in Berlin. So this was her debut from 2018, which I remember being highly touted, and it is a very good, albeit subtle, film about a chambermaid in Mexico. It's just depressing, but yeah, and that was worth a watch. It's on Amazon Prime.
Nanette.
A documentarian I'm not familiar with, even though he's quite prolific. Nicholas Philibert, French. he has a film and competition coming up in Berlin, and he has a wide array of films. A lot of them are hard to get a hold of, but I remember when Nanette came out in 2010. At the time it's about the world's oldest in
Orangutan.
orangutan in captivity, named Nanette, in this notable French zoo, and the camera's just observing her, who's basically in a prison. Uh,
This morning when you came downstairs and I was laughing really hard, part of that was I saw a picture of a monkey with a wig on, and I almost posted it, but then I thought people were gonna be mad because it were it looked like some people.
well, I mean, we are related to primates,
But
so
I'm sorry, continue with Nanette.
Nanette. But so basically, just watching this old ass orangutan, just really be look quite bored, because in the wild they only live to 30 to 35, so I feel like she's being kept against her will. I was curious enough to look up if Nanette's still alive, and I did see that she celebrated a 50th birthday in
Go on,
2019.
girl, go on.
Okay, but the way they talk about her, like one of these zookeepers, like she's outlived 3 mates. She exhausted them.
Oh,
That'd be me if you put me in a zoo.
yep, you're about to kill me.
Oh
Moving
boy.
on, we watched Out of Time.
We can save this conversation for today's secret film if you want.
Oh, sure. Yes, that's a good idea. So, I watched Open Water 3. You know, I love shark movies, and
Mhm.
I really enjoyed Open Water, and I really enjoyed Open Water 2. Open
Mhm.
Water 3, it's not related to anything except that people get stranded out in the middle of the ocean.
Mhm.
But if it were me listening to this, I'd want to know how they get stranded. So, how they get stranded is this group of people are on this yacht, and a huge wave knocks the yacht, like capsizes it.
Mhm.
um, I actually thought it was decent. It wasn't as bad as some of the shit that you find on Tubi, but that's the thing that I watched. The next movie, I think we need to take some time on, so I'm gonna take a quick break.
Oh, okay.
All right, the next movie we watched for fun was something called Mac and Me.
Mhm.
Why did you want to watch this?
Okay, so I haven't seen this since I was because this movie's from 1987, but I haven't seen this since I was probably second or third grade, early 90s. But we recently watched Tammy and the T-Rex with Denise Richards and Paul Walker, and I was looking up that director, Stuart Raffle, and I'm like, oh, he direct. So it's been in the back of my mind that I wanted to rewatch it. So I randomly put it on late last night.
Well, I thoroughly enjoyed Tammy and the T Rex.
I
I
did
highly
too.
recommend people watch it with friends and alcohol if you drink. Uh, and I thoroughly enjoyed Mac and Me. It's terrible, but we were howling the entire time. You did start it last night, and I had to go to bed, but so we finished it this morning. It's an ET ripoff, basically.
Oh, Spielberg. I mean, had this not flopped hard, I feel like Spielberg would and could have sued and won a lawsuit for copyright infringement.
Basically, this little well, so how they differentiate it from ET is that because I was we read something, or I don't know, or you read something
Yeah,
to me that it was differentiated from ET in that it's not just one alien, it's like a family of aliens,
and the baby gets separated from the
and
parents.
the aliens have powers and they're like a little more capable than ET.
Sure.
So that's how they sort of differentiate it. But basically, this alien comes down to Earth and finds its way to this boy in a wheelchair whose family has just moved to a new area. And this boy is like befriending him and trying to figure out what to do with him. Ultimately, the alien is reunited with his family, who's also somewhere on Earth in the desert. And so they get there. And then um, the group of aliens are naturalized as US citizens, and they drive off in a car to start their new lives as Americans, I guess.
Non-English speaking Americans,
There
yes.
is so much about this movie that is wrong. Where to begin? The cost, the effects of the aliens,
I
perhaps.
mean, it's impressive, but they are ugly. They are so ugly.
They're so ugly, and the way they walk and the facial expressions, it's they're so unappealing that it's hard to watch the movie.
Right.
It's it's,
Although
it's upsetting.
what's apparently supposedly the patriarch of the unit looks kind of like,
John Lithgow.
no, I was going to say an old Scandinavian man. Uh,
That's not John Lithgow.
well, I don't know how Scandinavian he is, but
If
I
you
was
mix
thinking
John Lithgow
Stellan
and
Skarsgård.
like Steve Buscemi and um
Oh,
like beef jerky.
you know,
That's what these creatures look like.
Steve was super cute when he
He
was
was cute.
in the 80s.
He
Yeah.
still is. Um, okay, so there's that. Then there's a scene that I guess is well known of the boy in the wheelchair like falling off a cliff. That shit is funny.
Apparently, Paul Rudd would go on Conan O'Brien and show clips of that saying it's his next movie.
There's a chase scene where the boy is in his wheelchair running from the police with the alien on his lap. That shit is crazy.
Technically, he's running from NASA.
Oh, sure. Probably the craziest scene in this movie and why I would recommend watching it is so this film was partially funded by McDonald's.
Well, the food supply, the meat supplier, I believe, for McDonald's.
So there's heavy product placement of not only McDonald's but Coca-Cola. And we need to talk about Coca-Cola
and Skittles
and Sears. But there is a scene where the boy in the wheelchair and this alien end up at a McDonald's, and there is a full-on dance break commercial that is not unlike the end of that new Matilda movie. That makes no sense. It's so batshit crazy. And you said something really funny. You're like, just just focus your attention on any person on the screen, and they're crazy.
And it looks, you're like, oh, I'm uncomfortable. I'm immediately uncomfortable.
There are like men my age wearing football outfits, clearly gay, dancing their asses off. There are old ballerinas in there. People just doing things that don't make sense.
They have great choreo, and then like these children that clearly don't know the dance moves that look like they're about to get hit.
They're professional dancers with kids.
NASA shows up to the birthday party in the car, but there's literal dancing in the street around the car.
Oh, it's so good. And then then there's a chase scene after that that's funny. Okay, then Coca-Cola.
And Mac, meanwhile, in the McDonald's scene, is dressed up in a teddy bear. And also participates. All of the McDonald's employees who look like children participate in the dancing. And one of them, this young brunette, absconds with them in the chase.
Okay, Coca-Cola. All these kids drink is Coca-Cola. There is always an open can of Coke with a straw in it.
With a plastic straw.
It's obscene, like the product place. It makes no sense. It makes no sense. All they do is drink Coca-Cola. Then the one girl in the movie, she works at McDonald's, and every scene we see her in, she's wearing a McDonald's like uniform shirt.
Yeah.
Perfectly pressed and tucked into her pants. It's ridiculous, but I highly recommend it.
On this trip where they run away after McDonald's in a van with MAC, which stands for mysterious alien creature, I believe, they have a cooler full of Coke and only Coke. And then they find his family in this mine shaft in the desert, who
dehydrated.
They are revived,
clinging onto their lives.
They are revived with Coke,
with Coca-Cola,
drank from straws because they're little mouth holes, which are disturbing.
They're
to behold.
Upsetting, yeah. All right, moving on. So you posted a review on our website, fishjellyfilmreviews.com, and I'm sorry, our website is called fishjellyfilms.com.
Yeah.
But you posted a written review for Irreversible, the Straight Cut.
I did.
So if people want to read about that, they can go there. Unfortunately, there are entries in the obituary section. Someone named Hugh Hudson died.
Yes, he's probably best known for directing the 1981 Best Picture winner, Chariots of Fire, which I've still never seen, but I'm very familiar with the theme song, and I know Ian Holm is in it. He's also, after that, he got to direct Greystoke, The Legend of Tarzan, Lord of the Apes, which I believe starred Christopher Lambert and Ralph Richardson, I remember. And he also did, I remember after Kim Basinger won her Oscar, she did that I Dreamed of Africa movie, which I thought took years. He did that in 2000 because she moved to Africa with, I believe, her kid and Alec at the time. I remember the tabloids. And then his last film was Finding Altamira with Antonio Banderas in 2016, which I never saw.
And Burt Bacharach died.
Oh, I didn't even see that.
So he's a prolific songwriter. I know who he is because he wrote songs for Dionne Warwick.
Yeah.
So for some reason, growing up, that was in my head. But he's written a lot of really great songs that I pulled up here so I could remind myself. That's What Friends Are For. Do You Know the Way to San Jose? Both by Dionne Warwick and company. He wrote On My Own, with Patti LaBelle and Michael McDonald. He wrote
I mean,
A House Is Not a Home for Luther Vandross. Lots of songs. Yeah. He was in his 90s, I believe.
lots of so many film scores. I
Yeah.
know featured Burt Bacharach. Isn't he in Austin Powers?
Is he?
Um, because of I've never seen In Like Flint.
Oh, he wrote Walk On By. I like that song too. Okay. Today's secret film was my choice. And I wanted to choose a film from a Black director. And you had a stack of criterions you hadn't opened yet.
Mm-hmm.
And several of them uh, were films from Black directors. So I whittled it down to two selections:
Mm-hmm.
Coolie High or Devil in a Blue Dress.
Mm-hmm.
And then during our live review for the movie Eve's Bayou, I asked people in the chat to choose between the two. And overwhelmingly, people chose Devil in a Blue Dress, the 1995 American neo noir mystery thriller film written and directed by Carl Franklin, which is based on Walter Mosley's novel of the same name.
Mm-hmm.
I did not care for this movie.
Oh, that's sad to me because I do like this film and I like Walter Mosley.
So you explained to me that Walter Mosley wrote a series of books featuring the character, the main character played by Denzel Washington, Ezekiel Easy Rollins.
Correct.
You read those books.
I have several. I've only read Black Betty.
So I don't even know where to begin. I think the movie's well made and the acting's fine, so I wouldn't give it a shitty score. I just thought that for a movie based on a series of books about a central character, this film makes the mistake of not making that character very interesting. So once we were done with the film, I had zero interest in exploring any other films with this character. So I have ideas on what I think would have made more sense, but the basic story is Denzel plays Ezekiel Easy Rollins. He's just a regular schmegular guy living in LA in the 1940s. He owns a home,
Mm-hmm.
which is not common for a black man during that time. And we see that he has recently lost his job. So he is, of course, stressed about how he will pay his bills and his mortgage. So he's sitting at a bar he frequents when Tom Sizemore walks in and starts whispering to the bartender. And the bartender's like, yeah, you can go talk to him. And then he says, hey, Ezekiel, come here. This guy wants to talk to you about a job. Tom Sizemore says, all right, meet me at this place at this time and I'll tell you about it. So Denzel goes down there and Tom Sizemore is basically like, yeah, I need to find this lady, this white lady, and I need you to do it. Well, why do you need me to do it?
Daphne Monet.
Well, because she likes to frequent well, he says she likes jazz and dark meat, basically like she likes to be around black people, so I can't go look for her. I'll pay you $1,000. So Denzel says, fine. He goes searching for her, and things get messy really quickly. Tom Sizemore turns out to be a huge asshole. Daphne, he does locate her. Daphne is played by Jennifer Beals.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what is happening is that Jennifer Beals has gone into hiding. She's being blackmailed by someone who she is also blackmailing.
Yeah.
So what's up with this blackmailing? So Jennifer Beals is half black, we're told,
Mm-hmm.
and she's dating the super rich guy who's running for mayor.
Terry Kinney, but she passes for white in this period.
Sure. So the other person running for mayor, this guy named Frank,
Mm-hmm.
he is the one who's blackmailing Jennifer Beals, saying like, I'm going to tell everyone you're half black, which is going to ruin your boyfriend's campaign. But she has information on him.
Oh, his name's Matthew Maury Shaken, who plays the
other guy,
the incumbent mayor, I believe. Yeah.
The other guy is a pedophile,
Mm-hmm.
and she has evidence because she has pictures he's taking, like child pornography. So she's blackmailing him, saying like, you're not going to say shit about me because I'm going to let everyone know you're a pedophile. So Tom Sizemore works for the pedophile, and he's trying to find Daphne so he can get the evidence and destroy it. So everything culminates with Tom Sizemore being killed, Jennifer Beals getting a hold of the child pornography. So now she's safe because she has this blackmail. And she tries to go back to her ex, the one running for mayor, but then he doesn't want to be with her because she's half black, and
Well, he won't marry her.
or he won't, you like
He wants to be
he
with
won't make
her.
an honest woman of her.
Hmm.
So she rides off into the sunset with Denzel, but then the final scene is we see Denzel sort of back at his house talking about maybe he wants to make a business out of being a PI,
Because he's gotten a lot of money because all of these people looking
because
for
several
Daphne,
people,
several
yeah,
parties pay him.
are
Yeah.
paying him, so he's good to go. I
Yeah.
think the problem is this character. I'm not saying Denzel, but this character is so boring. He doesn't have any skills. Like, he happens upon
Yet.
being a PI.
Hmm.
And so we're just watching. He's not a bumbling idiot. He's just sort of like sort of stumbling through things, and things are happening to him that I didn't find that interesting until he calls an acquaintance played by Don Cheadle.
Mouse.
And when
Yeah.
Don Cheadle shows up,
His
that's when things get live, because Don Cheadle's the kind of character who's like,
shoot first, ask
I'm
questions
gonna shoot
later.
first and ask
Yeah.
questions later. So he's very entertaining, which I also thought was a weird choice. Like, that this supporting character is much more interesting than the main character, and also more in line with what I think. And you were referencing people like Humphrey Bogart, and like I wanted someone who was like,
Oh, playing like Philip Marlowe. Yeah.
yes, I wanted someone who was a little like rough around the edges, no
Pretty
nonsense.
fast and loose, taking big chances. Yeah.
Exactly. The kind of PI who doesn't have any legal jurisdiction over anything, but
Hmm.
they act like they do. That's
Hmm.
the kind of shit you want, right? But then Denzel's just like kind of just literally just going from place to place, like, I need help. I don't know what's happening.
But again, Carl Franklin is trying to make this origin story for him.
What I think would have made more sense is they should have started the first film should have been maybe like, I don't know how many books there are, but maybe like the third book. So we see this person in the swing of things, and
Sure.
then we learn how they started. Because watching, some origin stories are interesting, but usually that shit is pretty dry.
I don't know.
And
There's a lot going on though that I really like.
like what?
But I think that seems tame by today's standards because of the progression we have made. But I think, Devil in a Blue Dress, Jennifer Beals is this devil. She's this white devil. And she, again, I think there's some problems with the wardrobe in that she's not dressed in the most stunning way you would want her to be. But this notion, interracial marriage was illegal, so this would have been a major scandal that would ruin someone's political career, and all the danger going on behind the scenes. And we don't see a lot of white people, but when we do, it's violent, it's aggressive. um at one point, Ezekiel gets called out to Malibu because Tom Sizemore wants to meet him in person, and this white girl tries to talk to him, and that ends up in a very violent cascade of things happening. So I think that I really appreciate this tried and true, these tried and true tropes of specific genre of film, i.e., film noir. What was it like for other people in them in that
Sure.
period, even and navigating this world? Because there is something to be said. Although these white people didn't like these black people, they still wanted things from this community, and they had to have somebody that would go in and do that. So what does that, and also what does that do to somebody that, as these novels continue, has to work with these shitty white people?
Hmm. I'm just going to go through my notes. This movie is really about how hard it is to be a black homeowner.
Yeah.
That's the sense I got from it, which is relevant. Okay, you already alluded to this, but in a film like this or a story like this, where we're like, there's this person we're all searching for, and this woman who clearly is like has some equity, and we would assume is like irresistible, and and then the fact that the film is called Devil in a Blue Dress. I needed this lady to pop off on screen, like, you know, insert Madonna and Dick Tracy, Kim Basinger and LA
Mm.
Confidential, Anna.
Ava Gardner and the Killers, Gloria Graham and the Big Heat.
Right,
Yeah.
right. All these examples of like when you see them, it's like, okay, I can see why people are getting themselves in trouble over her. But then we meet Jennifer Beals, who is also a stunning woman, and they have her styled. And then when we see the blue dress, she looks like
I agree that
so
blue
regular schmegular, and then the blue is like baby blue, and she's fully covered,
and
and her hair is that very generic, like if you told me, oh, style this woman's hair like 1940s, I would have done it just like that, which is like she looks like like a regular lady. I needed her to be in something that was like,
I don't think you've seen this, but I wanted maybe like Robin Givens in A Rage in Harlem.
sure, yes, that. Or yeah, I mean, there I can think of so many examples, or Veronica Lake type,
Yeah, yeah, that
something that's just like, whoa. And when we see her, and then the problem is there's a character named Coretta, played by
Lisa Nicole Carson, who you just saw in Eve's
who we
Bayou.
just saw in Eve's Bayou. And I thought that, she's like the devil in the red dress
Hmm.
because her character seduces Denzel,
In one of the best scenes of the film, really.
which I think is probably the best scene. And because she's friends with Daphne and Denzel's asking around for Daphne. So Coretta's trying to throw him off.
And he's calling her Dahlia, which of course a reference to Black
Right.
Dahlia. Yeah.
And I thought that scene where she seduces him and clearly she's playing games with him, it's like, this is the energy I needed
Hmm.
from, I guess you'd say, the titular character.
Hmm.
And so why am I getting it from the supporting character who gets killed right away? I don't, some very interesting choices that left me kind of bored.
Sure. And then, Jennifer Beals, who I do really like, is along the lines of like a Kamala Harris in this.
Right. Well, I was actually going to say she looks like just a professional lady,
Hmm.
which again, a beautiful woman, very well put together.
But again, the rigidity of that is because she's trying so hard to pass as white.
Sure. But she just, I don't know. She needed to present in a way that's like, oh, yeah, I can see why people would write bad checks over her or something. But I just didn't get that vibe. Okay. The other thing that I think this film could have done to make Ezekiel's character more like, I'd be more invested in him, is his motivation for why he's doing something that anyone could see is probably going to get him into trouble is because of his finances. So I feel like the film should have spent more time explaining his finances. Like, was the $1,000 that, I mean, I know it's 1948, so $1,000 equals, probably $10,000, but I wish they would have explained his finances more. Like, how much is his mortgage? Is he behind? How
Hmm.
much was he making? Like, was $1,000 like 2 months' pay or 3 months' pay? The film doesn't really make it clear like how badly he needs money and what this amount would do for him. And I think that's something that it could have easily done to make me think, okay, this fool, he can pay his mortgage for 3 months or he can get from having his home foreclosed. But the way it is, the way the film's shot is like he just lost his job and then immediately he takes this gig. Like, did you even try to find something? He's looking in the newspaper, but we don't know for how long.
But I think that's why we get the scene. He's led into trusting that it's going to be okay because Jupy, the bartender, introduces him to Tom
Yeah,
Sizemore.
he knew when he went to Tom Sizemore's place that this was some bullshit because he even says, I don't want to be part of any bullshit,
But
basically.
he does. But there's a good line like, as soon as you walk out of the house, you're mixed in with some bullshit. Uh, he doesn't know how deep it is, and
Because Denzel asked Tom Sizemore, what kind of work do you do? And then he goes, I do favors for friends.
mhm,
So it's like, okay.
a businessman. Mhm.
My next note is that in the photograph in the newspaper of Jennifer Beals with her like boyfriend, she does look like Kamala
Yeah.
Harris. Um, there was, you already alluded to the scene, or you mentioned the scene where Denzel's character goes to the pier in Malibu, and there's that sort of racist incident, and then Tom Sizemore's character has like a gun to the head of the white guy, telling him that he needs to perform oral sex on Denzel.
Hmm.
That seemed like a lot.
Yeah.
Um,
But also, I bet that kid would never do something so racist,
well,
so boldly
he won't
racist.
have the opportunity now. Then when when they find the white guy dead who has the child pornography,
Mhm.
um, Jennifer and Denzel, the way Jennifer just leaves, she
Yeah,
takes
she just
off.
takes off
She leaves Denzel at that house.
and leaves him in Laurel Canyon,
Sure
which they've
does.
already he's already alluded. There's already some narration talking about being in this car with this woman in a white neighborhood.
So then at a point during the film, I got so upset. Like, why doesn't Denzel go back to this bartender and be like, why the hell
Mhm.
did you set me up with this man? And then immediately that's the next scene
Yep.
where Denzel shows up and the bartender, he owns the bar and he's very concerned about the bar counter. Like the bar has like a marble countertop
Mhm.
that he inherited from his dad. And so Denzel is in there trying to get answers like, why did you do this to me? And the bartender is being kind of flippant about it. And
Yeah,
Denzel pulls out what I at first I'm like, he's gonna get a gun. No, Denzel had a hammer,
Mhm.
and he messes up that man's marble countertop.
Oh, he gets answers real quick too.
I
But
thought that was
but at
really
first the
good.
guy's like, "You come up here." He says something like trying to act like you're gonna do something.
I know you don't agree, but I didn't think Jennifer. I'm sure people won't agree with me either, but I don't think Jennifer Beals passes as white.
People see what they want to believe. It's just like when I listened to Cher as an eighth grader and everybody wanted to think I was straight. She told people she was white. They wanted to see white.
I would agree with what you're saying. Yeah, but for me, it was like that lady. If I saw her, I wouldn't think she's white. Like I would definitely think she's not white. But uh, the casting is fine, and I think what you said is what makes
But I
sense.
mean, it's that thing that in Hollywood, I to me that I think the casting is fine because if you think about Natalie Wood, who played every type of race, of course, because we didn't want to hire, and Audrey Hepburn too. They did that a lot, playing indigenous peoples and Puerto Ricans and anything but hire the actual people that are that ethnicity. But
If you do decide to watch this film, a fun game you could play is to count how many times someone lights a cigarette.
there is a lot of smoking in the film. To me, that tracks though.
It does for the time period. We're gonna take a break. What would you give Devil in a Blue Dress?
3.5. I think it looks great. I think I wanted to talk about Carl Franklin, and maybe that could be the segue to the other thing you want to say. But
Well, yeah, I would give Devil in a Blue Dress 3 out of 5. I think it's very well made. It looks great, and the performances are fine. So there's that. But
Don Cheadle is the selling point, I
Don
think.
Cheadle to me is the best part of the film, and I think the character of Coretta, we could have used more of her.
Sure.
So you wanted to talk about the writer?
Carl Franklin. Well, Walter Mosley, of course,
I
but
mean, I'm sorry, the director.
yes, who, started as an actor and had directed several features, mostly predominantly featuring white people, and one in particular that I've never seen that I've always wanted to, but haven't made a point to, starring Bill Paxton, called One False Move. Um, but prior to this, I'd only seen his follow up. I've seen Devil in a Blue Dress. I had to watch that for a film class uh, as an undergrad. But his film right after that, 3 years later, was that white Oscar Beatty, Meryl Streep dying of cancer film, One True Thing, with William Hurt and Renee Zellweger, which I haven't seen since 1998, and I have no plans to revisit it. But after we first moved to LA, I reviewed his film Bless Me Ultima, which I
Nissan Altima? No, I'm
no,
sorry.
it's based on a very notable book by Rudolfo Anaya, and like period piece set in New Mexico during World War II. I haven't seen it since then, and I didn't really like it. However, he directed Morgan Freeman and Ashley Judd in High Crimes, which is kind of their Kiss the Girls reunion in 2002. Also, which I remember driving to Virginia, Minnesota to see that in a theater, and my stupid late friends didn't get there in time. So instead, we had to see Changing Lanes with Ben Affleck, which, as I've grown older, have come to appreciate Roger Michelle, even his Hollywood stuff. Anyway, I put on last night because I thought it would be funny to watch a Denzel Carl Franklin double feature, because he reunited with him in 2003 for Out of Time, which I'd never seen.
I had never seen Out of Time, and I did think this film was fun.
It is fun. To me, it has stupid moments that Devil in a Blue Dress does not have,
For sure.
but it's very pulpy and entertaining.
Yeah. Um, I don't know. Well, should we say the basic
You
stories?
can, sure.
Denzel is a police chief in some area, and
Florida.
he's dating. He's in a he is married, but divorcing Ava Mendez, who also works for law enforcement in the same department, right?
He's the sheriff. She's a detective.
Right. And then, and he's having, I guess you'd say, an affair, kind of, but he's not with Ava Mendez anymore, but he's having an affair with Sanaa Lathan.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, Sanaa needs money. She's like, I'm tired of being poor. I need money. So she orchestrates this elaborate con where she convinces Denzel that she's dying of like lung cancer or something,
Mm-hmm.
and that she needs money to get some experimental treatment in like Switzerland or
Mm-hmm.
something. And he has the bright idea that, because at first she's like, I'm gonna run this like life insurance scam or something. No, it's not a scam. She's gonna like sell her life insurance policy to some company,
Mm-hmm.
but then they tell her no. But that's all a scam to convince him that she's desperate. And he's like, well, we recovered some money from like some drug bust or something. I can give you that money. No
because
one's
it'll be years before
It'll be years before
we have
anyone
to
look
present it.
right. So he gives her the money, and then she there's like a house fire, and she sets it up so that Denzel believes that she was murdered
You
in a
forgot to mention that she's married to Dean
she's married to
Cain,
Dean
who
Cain.
is such a snack in this.
He is very handsome. Okay. But then we find out that she set all this up, and now the DEA wants that money that Denzel thought they wouldn't need for years. They want it like in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And so out of time is really, it has a couple meanings, because at first you think, oh, out of time because Sanaa Lathan, she's told she only has a few months to live.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also out of time because once the DEA shows up and they want this money, it's curtains for Denzel.
Mm-hmm.
So he's ripping and running, trying to evade, because also Ava Mendez kind of thinks that something's not right
Because there's a homicide now. So
because they're investigating this homicide plus this money and everything. I think the pacing of this movie is so great. I mean, it's all very like manipulative, but
mm-hmm.
it works. I was very engaged, and then because of the title of the film, it just felt very appropriate that
Mm-hmm.
because I can think of at least 4 scenes where it was just so stressful because Denzel's trying. There's a scene where he's trying to like Photoshop some like cell phone records or
Yeah.
something that is just so good. But ultimately, Denzel has a friend on the police force with him who's helping him that I
Well,
thought
he's the
was really.
medical examiner.
Oh, that white guy's the medical
Yeah,
examiner.
John Billingsley. Yeah.
He's Denzel's friend. He helps him, which I thought was really sweet.
Mm-hmm.
But in the end, Denzel catches up to Sanaa because he finds out that she's not. Um, well, we don't really know that she wasn't in on it. Dean Cain has her locked up in some house, and she looks crazy. But
She
we
looked.
don't. Oh no, we do know that she really.
She did. She tried to hem him up because
She did try to hem Denzel up. So no, so we do know, but she's gonna kill him.
when she calls and she's like, "I'm so sorry, I lied to you so much,"
Yeah, no kidding, bitch.
and she looks so wet in
Oh,
that
she
scene.
looks so yeah. But the final scene is she's gonna kill Denzel, and she says, "I'm sorry.
God help me.
God help me. I'm sorry I have to do this." And then that's when Ava Mendez shows up and kills Sanaa.
Mm-hmm.
And then Ava, it's all very convenient,
Yeah.
but Ava then sort of sets it up like, oh, he was here catching the person, and and miraculously the medical examiner's here with the money because
Mm-hmm.
Denzel did recover it. And so all's well that ends well. And then we fast forward a little bit, and the three of them, Denzel, Ava, and his medical examiner friend, are sitting on the beach somewhere luxuriating when Denzel gets a letter from like
The insurance
the insurance
company.
company saying that he's getting
$1 million.
Sanaa's life insurance policy, which is $1 million. So he won in the end, which is interesting because he did something very illegal.
Well, Ava Mendez is there to say that he can't possibly take that money, but
But of course
you know.
he is. But yeah, I this was a fun ride
Mm-hmm.
because it was late and I was tired
Mm-hmm.
and I watched all of it and yeah, who directed it again?
Carl Franklin.
Yeah, he did a very good job of the pacing.
But since 2012, he's worked exclusively in television, but has worked on a lot of series that you are a fan of, including House of Cards, and he directed
Oh, I do like House of
one
Cards.
episode of Dahmer.
Oh, I do. I did like Dahmer.
So I think this is somebody that's deserving of directing film again. But you know,
All right. Well, that's all I have. What's going on this week? So tomorrow we're seeing Ant-Man.
oh
When I
God,
tell y'all for the second time, I have zero interest in watching this movie, and I didn't watch the other ones.
Michelle Pfeiffer, I do love you, but
I do like Michelle Pfeiffer.
I don't care one iota.
Where
for
is
this
the
movie.
screening?
I don't remember. Oh, I think Burbank.
It's in Burbank.
Burbank.
Ugh. At what time?
I don't know, 6, 7, somewhere in there. I'll let you know.
Ugh.
I'll reconfirm. But yeah, that's tomorrow, and then Tuesday I get on a plane.
I mean, I shouldn't say that because actually, we can get to Burbank faster than we can Century City. So
Okay, I mean Burbank's fine.
yeah,
It
I
doesn't
don't really
bother me.
like that theater.
Sure.
There is a Chipotle and a Cold Stone and a Yard House.
Yeah.
Yard House happy hour, for people who don't know, is quite nice.
Yeah, we experienced that after getting stuck in the rain after watching House Party.
Oh my god! After we watched the new House Party, it was like it was that like 2-3 week period where it was raining really bad in LA, and so we like ran into Yard House.
But yes, and then I get on a plane for Berlin. I have many screeners to still get through today. which somehow I will. We have to record a review on Marlowe because I just finished the book that's based on. Last night I also finished the Henry James novella The Beast in the Jungle because there's a film version of that directed by Patrick Chiha that I have to watch today.
Since Nick will be leaving me home alone and won't be cooking me food, if anyone wants to Venmo me money so I can order DoorDash.
Joseph's mother also lives in the vicinity and often calls requesting him to come pick up food that she randomly makes for him. That is enough for an army. Usually,
my mom does cook for like many people.
Yeah,
and it's like just me.
And then,
well, I'll for sure have her make me a meal or two. But of course, I would also order DoorDash or Uber Eats.
Mm-hmm.
I know I shouldn't be doing that, actually. Scratch that. I will call the restaurants directly and order from them.
From Black-owned businesses.
And I will promise to order from Black-owned businesses.
No more Cheesecake Factory this month.
For this month. No, I shouldn't say that. So there's that. Is there anything else you want to say?
Oh, we had a sorry to this man that I forgot about.
Oh, I totally forgot about that. So in the review for Your Place or Mine, the new Reese Witherspoon, Ashton Kutcher. People were making fun of how I say Kutcher. How do you say his name?
I thought it was Kutcher. I don't know.
Oh, Kutcher?
I don't know, actually.
Kutcher. Anyway, in that movie, I had said that the kid, the main kid was Jimmy Kimmel's son, but that's not correct.
It's his nephew.
It's
apparently.
This person is his nephew.
That's still a nepo. That's still some nepo bullshit. But yes, good for him. Congratulations for being in a movie, kid. But
are you done?
Sure.
Ta-ta.